Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. This is episode 188. Calling this bad boy The Science. Because sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we all need to listen. We need to pay attention, study the science. We can't do as I've done a many time-tanies. Ladies and gentlemen, a many time-tanies. I've ignored the science. So we're going to get into that today. The science in which that I have ignored. And no more will I ignore that science, ladies and gentlemen. I will trust the science. We're going to talk about UFC San Antonio. And boy, what a night. In the first fight, people were like, yo, it's half like full and the crowd is nuts. Yeah, because you motherfuckers never travel anymore. I mean, yeah, I know COVID. Yeah. Alright. But niggas is thirsty for these fights. It's gonna get packed early. Vegas don't get packed early because y'all get all the fucking fights. Y'all get Conor every time he fight. Y'all get the fights. Y'all get John Jones. You know what I'm saying? I get Kevin Lee versus Al Iaquinta. That's what I get. We're going to talk about UFC San Antonio. We're going to talk a little bit about what is coming to Milwaukee, what comes to Milwaukee. Gamebred Boxing 4. Jorge Masvidal's Gamebred Boxing 4. We have no UFC next weekend. But right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right down the street, ladies and gentlemen, from me, where I'm talking to you, you're going to have Anthony Pettis, Milwaukee's own Anthony Pettis, in a boxing match against Roy Jones Jr., ladies and gentlemen. Also on that card, you got Jose Aldo. I forget who he's boxing. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. Let me just pull that card up. And there it is. Oh, Jose Aldo is fighting. He is boxing Jeremy Stephens. I didn't think that was happening. He's boxing Jeremy Stephens. Didn't he already beat him in MMA? Like with strikes? To the body? Just working that body? You got Jacare Souza versus Vitor Belfort. You know that's going to be crazy. You know that's going to be crazy. Paul Daly versus Anthony Taylor. Dude, I really hope Paul Daly fucking mollywops this dude. Pearl Gonzalez versus Gina Mazzani. I don't think Mazzani is still in the UFC anymore. I believe she may have been cut. I could be wrong. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I mean, if I can. I just pulled it up there. I don't know if I have too much to talk about with that card. Circus fights almost. But speaking of circus fights, we're gonna go to questions, ladies and gentlemen. As I answered a question last week in our episode Answers. Shout out to High Tie for the coupon there. But yeah, as I answered question last week, in episode 187, I'm going to answer another question today, which comes from the Unified Rules of Podcast, just as last week. And the question was, had I watched any of the Pride fights that were suggested to me to check out? Had I seen any of the Pride fights? And out of the ones I've seen, what are my favorites? So I'll give you my thoughts on the Pride fights that I did watch. I didn't watch all of them. Did not watch all of them. I'll give you my thoughts on those fights. As you know, I'm a child. I basically knew of Pride because the old UFC games had a mode where you could go fight in Pride. You go fight in Pride in the old UFC games. They had Mark Coleman. They had everybody. Them old UFC games were way better than the games they have now. But I never like watched Pride like as it was happening. I was a little boy. You know what I'm saying? I knew who Dan Severn was. I knew who Ken Shamrock was because I watched fucking WWF and them niggas did pro wrestling. I didn't know that them niggas, they would talk about these guys were champions, like real fighters, but I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. I thought this was just like fucking Street Fighter. You know what I'm saying? This is like you got The Undertaker from Death Valley, who's dead. He ain't got no blood, so the Snake from Jake the Snake Roberts don't work on him. Shout out to Ron Funches on that joke. I slaughtered it right there, but anywho, nigga ain't got no blood. You know what I'm saying? So this is Street Fighter, is what I'm thinking. This is Street Fighter. Forget how I got here. Oh yeah, Pride. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna talk about it. Dan Severn, all them niggas. We're gonna talk about Pride. I'm gonna answer that question about what I felt about that. How I feel about Bob Sapp in general. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about some things here on episode 188, ladies and gentlemen. The science. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast, I'd appreciate it so much. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Twitch, go ahead and follow your boy at twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod. And you can be my patron today. Ladies and gentlemen, you can be my patron. Come on, be my patron tonight. Kind of like, I'm feeling this fucking hat. If you don't watch the fucking YouTube videos, I suggest you do. Let's run them numbers up, my nigga. If you listening to this, let's go watch the fucking YouTube video. Let's run them numbers up. Let's do that shit. But I'm feeling this fucking hat. You feel me? It's like some Dave Chappelle show type shit. I don't know if he be dressing like this anymore, but that's the kind of swag he and like Mos Def were on. I'm pretty sure Mos Def still dressed like that. Anywho, you know Dave's out in, what is it, Ohio? Furman? Sounds like a racist. We had Corey Sandhagen versus Chito Vera. And as you know, I thought, okay, I thought by the fourth round, Chito was going to have this man figured out. He's going to step on the gas and just knock Corey Sandhagen out. And that turned out to not be the case. Corey Sandhagen just beat the shit out of Chito Vera for 5 straight rounds. Had that nigga on the ground curled up in a ball. And I'm sitting there like, he's just blocking the punches with his face. And I'm sitting there like, ooh, the Anthony Smith defense. Just curl up in a turtle shell. The Anthony Smith defense. I was like, that's pretty interesting what he's doing here. But I don't know if that's conducive to winning fights. And my boy got his fucking ass beat for 5 rounds. Unless you're that one judge, Joel, I'm not sure, Oteha or something like that. Not sure how to pronounce the last name, but they gave the last 3 rounds to Chito. They scored the fight for Chito Vera. It was a split decision victory for Corey Sandhagen. He beat this nigga's ass for 5 straight rounds. Should have been 5-0. Alright. It made no sense that guy scored he scored 3 rounds for Cheeto. All right, I think some of the other judges scored like at least a round or 2 for Cheeto. I believe so, or maybe not. I believe maybe one judge gave a round to Cheeto. Pardon me. But it was usually, for me, on my for the scorecard that matters, ladies and gentlemen, on my scorecard, it was a 50-45. Corey Sandhagen. And if we're being honest, like, I felt like round 1 could have definitely been a 10-8. But I was giving Cheeto credit because he usually is a slow starter. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't see that ass whooping he was delivering to Cheeto in round 1 as that crazy, because that's kind of how it looked when Cheeto Vera fought Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz was touching that boy up, touching and moving, and then boom, Fly got swatted. Cheeto knocked that nigga out. Frankie Edgar in the first round looked good against Cheeto Vera. By the second round, Cheeto was figuring that nigga out. In the third, Fly got swatted. Cheeto knocked that nigga out. This fight right here, my nigga, this fight did not happen. Even Dana White in the post fight was like, yeah, I thought he was gonna like step on it in the 4th round and really take over, go for it, and it just never happened. That's what I'm like, nigga, I could have sworn I went on verdict and I'm like, yep, 4th round TKO Cheeto Vera, and I didn't listen to the science. Every week, I watch Super Sadiq Yusuf do his phenomenal breakdowns of the fights. He does the science. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't follow Super Sadiq Yusuf, UFC fighter Super Sadiq Yusuf, if you don't follow him on Twitter, possibly Instagram, I don't follow him on Instagram, I follow him on Twitter. Maybe I follow him on Instagram too and I don't even realize it, but I think it's neither here nor there. I see this shit on Twitter. He breaks down the fights, and he broke down Corey Sandhagen versus Cheeto Vera, and he, even with all the science, with all the irrefutable fucking science, I went with Cheeto Vera. He chose Corey Sandhagen based off of the science, the research that he had done. And this is like the second or third week in a row where there's like a certain fight where I'm like, he don't know what he's talking about. This nigga don't know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's like second or third week where there's a fight where I'm like, this nigga don't know what he's talking about. He ain't do the science right. He ain't carry the 1. See that fucking big mama homogenin over there? And the little baby homogenins over there? He didn't do the fucking science. He didn't do it right. That's what I thought. Lo and behold, every time I'm like, this nigga don't know what he's talking about. Super Sadiq Yusuf was 100% right. So y'all gotta follow Super Sadiq Yusuf for your fucking fight picks, man. For your fight picks. Because had I listened to Super Sadiq Yusuf, I could have been 200,000 richer in a fucking DraftKings fucking competition. That shit's wild to me, nigga. DraftKings, I never really played it like that. I do like dollar games back in the day just to like, you know what I'm saying? Just to make it slightly more interesting, just be a little bit more vested. I play a free league with niggas on Twitter. Right, it's actually just me and Ben for the most part. If you niggas is listening, join the league. Play DraftKings with us. It's a free league. We just be playing. I'll be a little more vested, as I'm saying. But yeah. Nah, it's just interesting. It seems pretty easy, especially if you're somebody like me who watches all the fights from the first fight of the night to the last every week. I usually I have a pretty good idea of what's gonna happen here. Pretty good idea. Just based off of the fighting styles and seeing this and that with Rusty. You know what I'm saying? Corey Sandhagen, as we just talked about, defeated Cheeto Vera in the main event. And you had Holly Holm versus Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunishskaya, married to Thiago Santos. Just had her second child 10 months ago. And just got another L about 24 hours ago. That was terrible. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry, Thiago. You still one of the scariest niggas out there. Please don't murder me. Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr, man. I fucks with Nate Landwehr. Nate the Train, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on the Nate the Train bandwagon. He submits Austin Lingo in the second round. It's a great fight, man. He's an entertaining dude. He's great on the mic. Like, my mama ain't raised no punk, or what do you say? Like, he's a good dude, man. You guys need to keep an eye out for Nate Landwehr, man. His country as fuck, just perfectly country, man. I fucks with Nate Landwehr, man. He's entertaining to watch. He's fucking game. I was watching the video where he's talking. He's like, "You're gonna have to beat my ass." Like, that nigga's all heart, and he'll beat your ass. So like, I fucks with Nate Landwehr. Yeah, I fucks with Nate Landwehr. Yo, I'm back on the Macy Barber train, hype train. I left the hype train right at the end of that Modafferi fight. All right, when she grabbed the microphone at the end of that Modafferi fight, that is so gross to me. Nigga, losers don't talk on the microphone unless it's the championship fight. You just got your ass beat. Took like a year off of your career. You just got mollywops by somebody who's fucking blind in there. She got it took a year off her career, I believe. That ass whooping. She ran in there and tucked the microphone. I just want to say, and it was like, whoa, you just Kanye this shit? You just came in here and Kanye this shit? Losers don't talk. So I was jumping off the bandwagon. I was like just about to jump off that fucking train, that hype train. And then her father came out and was like, no, she didn't lose because Modafferi was better. She lost because of the injury. The ass whooping Modafferi put on you caused the injury. But in the middle of this fight with Andrea Lee, I was like, yeah, she's showing me improvements here. I'm back on the hype train. And now that I think about it, though, I'm almost off the hype train. She's calling for a fight with Alexa Grasso. And it's like, my nigga, I love the confidence, but do you even acknowledge that you got some improvements? You got some shit to work on. It's not saying, like, you can't get better, but I think she needs to acknowledge that she needs to make some fucking improvements. And it's not like, I'm not even trying to shit on her. Like, nigga, what the fuck do I know? The fuck does the weasel know? Like, what the fuck do I know? I'm just saying, like, I was there. I just saw how good Alexa Grasso looked. I saw how good she looked last year. That's why the Babylon 5 podcast named her Fighter of the Year for 2022. We saw it coming. Saw the improvements there. I think she would dominate Macy Barber on the ground. I think the Alexa Grasso we see today would dominate Macy Barber on the ground, and I think her boxing would definitely be too much. It was too much for her the first time. I think she needs to understand. And it's not that she can't win, but there's just like, there's certain places on the ground, certain like takedown defense that she needs to shore up before she like is trying to just rush to fight the champion. Slow roll yourself and improve. That's all I'm saying. I was right back on the bandwagon, and now I'm ready to like, whoa, hold on. I hear she's doing it again. I'm a Kanye fan, so you know I can stay on a fucking bandwagon through a lot of fucking turbulation. You know what I'm saying? A lot of turbulation. As a Kanye fan, I fucking in the 8th grade, I remember I told niggas I heard that Slow Jams and then what was it? Maybe Through the Wire. I feel like there was something else I heard, and I was just like, yo, he's the best rapper alive. By the time I heard Jesus Walks, it was over. It was fucking over, nigga. And I was telling niggas in the 8th grade, 9th grade, I was like, that dude is the best rapper alive. And my friends were like, you're fucking crazy. Nigga, this is like 2004, 2005, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, nigga. This is back in the day. And I said, Ye is the best rapper alive. He was like, you're fucking crazy. He's a white guy. That's why he sounded that way. You're fucking crazy. And I was just like, nah, he's the best. And people were coming at me with Lil Wayne. And I was like, nah, Kanye West. And at the time, what was it, like 2005, maybe? Late Registration had came out. By late registration, nigga, by college dropout, I was all in. But by late registration, nigga, I'm all in. Nigga, by 808s and Heartbreak, there was no going back. There's no going back by 808s and Heartbreak. Then you got Albert Duraev versus Chidi and Jukani. Chitty Bang Bang. I went with Albert Duraev because I'm racist. Honestly, I saw the Face Off and I was like, yeah, Chitty is tall as fuck. He's 6'3". Duraev is what, like 5'11", 5'10". But then I seen that big ass beard and I was like, hold on, what did they say his name was? And it said Duraev, and I was like, oh, he winning. I'm fucking racist, and it paid off. He won. I went with Duraev. If you guys saw my fight pics on Twitter, definitely paid off in my life as personal bragging rights, and on my DraftKings roster, it paid off. But yeah, it was a good fight. That was a real good fight. Duraev versus Chitty Bang Bang. He's a really good striker. He's got a sure up. You know, it's like you got a sure up takedown defense, but when you're up against one of these amazing Russian grapplers, dude, what can you really fucking do? I saw that beard on Duraev, and I was like, hold on, what is his name? I was like, if it ends in a V, it's over. Oh, and it ended in a V. He didn't stand a chance. Why'd you sign that contract? Nurmagomedov Sharipov. Magomed Sharipov. There's a nigga named Magomed Habib. He just signed in the UFC, who's like an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling. Jesus Christ. Look at that name. He's gonna win. Magomed Habib. And I think his last name ends in a fucking Av. It ends in a V. Jesus, he's about to fucking... He might murder somebody in that fucking Bellator cage. I'm racist in that way where I expect nothing but excellence. There's this one guy I'm really excited for. I'm happy to go on this this Babble here. I even got a tab open on my phone still. What is his name? I keep waiting for them to announce his face. Sharputin Magomedov All right, 6'2", out of Moscow, 11-0. Okay, this guy's a beast. I've seen some videos of him fighting. I'm fucking hyped for this guy to debut. These fucking Russians, man, they're taking over. So this is part of what I was telling you guys, where I was like, in a couple years, every champion is gonna have those Russian sounding names like that. Nurmagomedov, Sharipov, Sharapudin Magomedov. Like those are gonna be your champions. Chimaev, Mahashev. These are your champions. Over the course of, till they feel like this isn't fun anymore. To the course of they feel like this isn't fun anymore. That's how I feel. Once Islam moves to 170, why wouldn't Usman Nurmagomedov come to the fucking UFC and just dominate our lightweight division? Usman Nurmagomedov. You know that's a sick nigga right there. Usman Nurmagomedov. That's a sick nigga right there. You ain't winning that fight. That's why he's undefeated. Just retired Benson Henderson. One of the best Hendersons around. He's got one of our best. All we got left is Jermaine. Anywho, Daniel Pineda. Shout out to Daniel Pineda. He got the finish in the second round. I put him as the captain on my rosters. I was looking at all these guys fighting through the rosters, and I was like, if anybody's gonna get a finish, it's Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. No offense to Tucker Lutz. He's a guy that he's kind of tough, and he comes forward, but there's, to me, honestly, from what I saw, there's nothing too special about his style. And I was like, just with the style of Pineda, he takes more chances, takes more risks. He's got how many fights? That was his like his 41st fight. Okay, I was like, if anybody's gonna finish, it's Daniel Pineda, right? And I was right. So shout out to Daniel Pineda. If you niggas can see that fight, go check it out. Lucas Alexander defeats Steven Peterson. I felt like that fight could have been stopped. I could be wrong here. I was watching it. It's like one of the earlier fights, but I felt like it could have been stopped. Lucas Alexander was, he was doing the trying to act like Anderson Silva, like backing all the way up across the octagon to the standing on the fence, like come on, doing the Anderson Silva shit. I mean, sure, pay homage to the GOAT, but that's fucking weird that you're doing what Anderson Silva used to do in the octagon, nigga. That's what he used to do. Alright, that's over. It's fucking over, son. Make your own legacy. Shout out to Lucas Alexander. Trevin Giles gets the victory. I feel like that should have been unanimous for Trevin Giles. Yo, the CJ Vergara guy. You guys should go back and watch that fight right there. Second round TKO, ground and pound of Daniel De Silva. But like in the first round, like De Silva was putting it on CJ. CJ's literally running. Like, go watch that fight. In the first round, CJ's fucking running, and De Silva's catching him with head kicks, all kinds of shit, and then he's just wobbling him, and then Vergara's just running. He's just like somehow getting out of there and literally running around. He's running laps around the octagon, just trying not to get knocked out in the first round. It's fucking wild. And Vergara comes back in the second round. De Silva's fucking gassed from chasing that dude around the fucking octagon, who's literally running. He's running away from him. And he comes back in the second round, gets his second win. He's recovered from almost being knocked out. Daniel De Silva's tired, and CJ Vergara gets the finish in the second round via ground and pound. It was beautiful. Beautiful fight. That's the fight. If there's any fight to go back and watch on the night. It's CJ Vergara versus Daniel Da Silva. That was a great fight. First fight, Victor Altamirano. Yeah, Victor Altamirano versus Vinicius Salvador. Nigga, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Vinicius. That was a good fight. That was a pretty decent fight. Or was he the nigga doing the Anderson Silva shit? If he was doing the Anderson Silva shit, it didn't work. Matter of fact, I think he was doing the Anderson Silva shit. If that's the case, chill out, because you lost. Anywho, Gamebred boxing. That was a good card, though. It was a good card. Good fucking crowd in San Antonio. Great crowd in San Antonio. You niggas need to come to Milwaukee, Chicago, or the surrounding area. Alright? That's all I have to say about that. Gamebred Boxing 4. April Fool's Day. Right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I like to say that. Makes me it's my reference is Mick Foley. When Mick Foley, right here and blah blah blah, like you get that cheap pop. Pardon me. But right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we have Anthony Pettis versus Roy Jones Jr. Can't be touched, can't be stopped, can't be moved, can't be rocked, can't be shook. We're hot. Anywho, I can't just do the anywho. I was looking to see, did they have this fight on Tapology? Doesn't look like they have it there. I just don't know how old Roy. They gotta have Roy Jones, yeah. No, not for Tapology, right? Probably not. Oh yeah, so they have it right here. Damn, man, I found it. So with a record of 66-9 versus a record of 0-0. This is Anthony Pettis' first pro boxing fight. Pro boxing competition. A 36-year-old versus 54-year-old Roy Jones Jr. Roy's 5'11", Pettis is 5'10". Roy's got to reach 74 inches with Pettis at 73, but this is my thing, right? I feel like I'm faded, but I'm a little faded. Roy Jones versus Anthony Pettis. I don't understand how this is sanctioned either by the age difference here. You got 36-year-old Anthony Pettis versus 54-year-old Roy Jones Jr. But 66-9. All right, 75 fights, 75 professional pro boxing matches versus no pro boxing matches. How is this former multi-time, multi-division, multi-weight class boxing champion Roy Jones Jr. versus never pro boxed in my life Anthony Pettis in his boxing debut? I don't know, it'd be cool if Pettis was to somehow win here. Whoa! This is interesting. Oh, Luis Feliciano. I went to high school with homeboy. He's undefeated. He's boxing on this card. That's hype. I didn't know Homeboy was boxing on this card. I didn't know all these other fights were on this card. It should make sense that all these other niggas is on this card. You know what I'm saying? It would make sense that all these other motherfuckers are on this card. But, yeah, this is interesting. How many fights are there? There's 12 boxing matches. 12 boxing matches. Did not know that. This is the main card that we see here. Co-main event. So, well, I don't really have a prediction. I mean, I do have a prediction for the main event. My prediction is... I don't know, man. I'm probably going to say Roy Jones wins, but, like... I don't know. I don't want to see Roy box anymore, but I would like to see him box. Like, I didn't buy tickets yet. I don't know if I will. I don't want to see Roy get hurt. I don't want to see the man that can't be touched, can't be stopped, can't be moved, get knocked the fuck out at 54 years old, right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't want to see that. Definitely don't want to see that shit live. I don't want to see that live. Not my boy, Roy. Nah, I'm cool on that. So I'm going to go with Roy is going to win this fight. Just off the fact that he's got 75 pro boxing matches. But, like, this is my thing, man. Alright? I've been saying that. This is my thing. The last few real pro boxing matches for Roy, man, I didn't like what I was seeing from Roy, and I just really wanted him to stop. He's taking some time off, I guess. He boxed fucking Mike Tyson. You guys remember when he boxed Mike Tyson, nigga? I wasn't here for that. I didn't want to see that shit. Jesus. And it's like, oh, it's a draw. Is it a draw? It's a draw because they said it was going to be a draw before anything happened. I don't want to see... I would much rather see Anthony Pettis get knocked out in front of everybody in his hometown than to see Roy, a legend, get knocked out by anybody. Anybody. I don't want to see that. So hopefully we get a boring fight where nobody's really throwing any punches and everybody can go home safe to their family. Or Roy wins. That's what I'm hoping. You got Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens in the co-main event. Definitely going with Jose Aldo in that one. Vitor Belfort versus Jacare Souza. I'm not sure, man. Who did Belfort fight? Who did he box recently? Did he beat Holyfield? I ate an edible before. That's what's going on. Yeah, he did beat Holyfield. He knocked out Holyfield. Yeah. How old is Holyfield, though? Fucking piece of shit. Holyfield's 60 years old. He beat like a 59-year-old Holyfield. Yeah, I feel some type of way. Yeah. Because I was a boxing fan long before there was even a thing called UFC. Before I knew what Pride was, I was a boxing fan. These are my legends. Your Holyfields, your Lennox Lewis, your Roy Jones, Sugar Shane, the real Sugar Shane Mosley. You know what I'm saying? These are my legends. Floyd. I didn't know what this stuff was, so definitely going with Jacare in that one. Pro Gonzalez versus Gina Mazzani. I'm not sure. And everybody else I'm not sure, except for Luis Feliciano will defeat Clarence Booth. Feliciano is 16-0 out of Rufus King High School. I'm fucking can't even say Rufus. I'm slurring a little bit. But yeah, that's that card there. I might go. I don't know if I'll go. I don't know if I'll even watch it. I don't want to see Roy. I don't want to see 54-year-old Roy Jones Jr. get knocked out. Not for any amount of money. That's not what I'm here for. So the question that was asked was, did I watch any of the Pride fights? As for the Unified Rules of Podcast, the question comes. They had suggested some Pride fights for me to check out, and they asked had I watched any of them and which are my favorites. So I only watched 2 of the fights, honestly. And what I would say, so I watched 2 of the fights. The first one I watched was Bob Sapp versus Nogueira, right? Let me put that on. Bob Sapp versus Nogueira. And honestly, dude, you know, I've seen videos where they talked about Bob Sapp, because Bob Sapp was in the old UFC video games. That was my introduction to, I didn't know that person was real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I played with him in the video game as this gigantic person, and I didn't know that was an actual person that existed. You know, he was in the old UFC games back when they fucking were interesting. But as I'm watching this fucking Bob Sapp Nogueira circus fight, first off, I'm like, dude, this makes no sense that they would let those 2 guys be in the, like, why are they fighting each other? The size difference alone makes this look goofy. But then there was just like certain moments in the fight that seemed real goofy. It seemed scripted a bit to me. It's like, yeah, Nogueira got busted up a bit because he had to make it look real, but there was a point in the fight in the first round where Nogueira would keep going for these fucking takedowns, and Bob Sapp was just stuffing him perfectly. And then he'd get on top and just start busting Nogueira up. Just start busting this boy up. And there was one point in the first round where, like, he's just, like, hitting him with ground and pound. He's hitting Nogueira with ground and pound. And I hear a voice say, stand up. Right? Somebody shouts out. It wasn't the ref. Somebody shouted out, stand up. And Bob Sapp just, like, stood up, backed up, and then the ref told Nogueira to stand up. Like, because Bob Sapp had, like, just for whatever reason, just let him up. And then he starts, like, catching Bob. And then the commentator's like, oh my God, is Nogueira gonna do it? Is he gonna be able to pull off the amazing comeback? And I was like, this seems like the most scripted shit I have ever seen. But then he got taken down again. We go into the rounds and, like, and then Boss Rudin kept pointing out that when Nogueira would go for these takedowns and fucking Bob Sapp would sprawl and then go for this body lock, sprawl and then wrap his arms around his body. And Boss Rudin kept pointing out, like, if Bob Sapp wants to right now, because it's legal in Pride, he could just knee that boy. He could just knee his head to oblivion. He was in perfect position. And he just kept being in that position. And Boss is like, he could just knee him right now. He could just knee him. And it just never happened. And it's like, dude, there's just so many moments where I'm like, this seems fake. And then when the fucking submission finally came, it was like everything the commentary was saying, everything that was happening was like, it was telling you that this is what's gonna happen. It's leading up to, can Nogueira pull off this submission again at the end of the round? Can he overcome this fucking monster? It seemed like the fakest fight I had ever seen. And then I was looking into some shit, and it's like, dude, Sep 100% talks about, like, throwing fights. I don't know if he threw this fight. I think he's fucking on every steroid in the book, and he shouldn't even be fucking fighting normal people. You know what I'm saying? They said that dude was like 450 pounds. He's like twice the size of Nogueira. It made no sense. I thought that was a circus fight, and I didn't like that fight at all. I thought it was scripted. The fight that I did not think was scripted was Fedor Emelianenko versus Nogueira 2. I didn't know it was the second fight until it had got going, and they were like, Fedor defeated Nogueira in the first fight, and I was like, oh, I'm watching the second fight, but whatever, I'm already here. And Fedor Emelianenko was a fucking tank. This boy was just like hip tossing, just coming with these fucking amazing strikes. He's counting these like level changes. Dude, he looked amazing. I was like, fuck, this is what people are hype about. I'm sitting there like, damn, I wish we could get a prime like John Jones at heavyweight versus a prime Fedor. Like, I've only known like old Fedor, but he looked fucking amazing. The combinations, the fucking boxing techniques, everything. Like the grappling, everything was amazing for Fedor. And he was just like, I don't know, man. It's weird. He had this fucking stoicness about him as he's coming forward on Nogueira. Like, he just had no fear of Nogueira at all. Nogueira had nothing for him. Is that look in his face? Like, it's fucking crazy. Dude, Fedor Emelianenko, I understand the hype. Alright? I understand the hype. That dude looked like a fucking monster. The fucking jumping and then stomping on people's heads, that was a bit much for me. That was a bit much for me, but I did see where the hype came from. The way he was just tossing Nogueira, man. He was just ragdolling Nogueira. He looked unstoppable in there. And I'm like, he'd be a problem for every heavyweight. If anything, I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm too new for Fedor. But he sort of reminds me of Sergey Pavlovich. But I'm fucking being racist. I'm being racist. But yeah, those were the fights that I saw. Definitely Fedor and Nogueira 2 would be my favorite fight, because I wasn't feeling that Bob Sapp fight. Was not feeling that Bob Sapp fight. First, I was just like, why is this happening? He picked him up, fucking power drived him. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? What is this? Why is this happening? And then they're talking like, they need to make a new weight class for Bob Sapp. Like, yeah, because this fight makes no sense. Why is this happening? And I felt like Bob just kept trying to put himself in, like, toward the end of that fight, putting himself in bad positions to where Nogueira could finish the fight. It'd be like, yo, all right, Bob Sapp can't get out of this position, and then it'd be like, oh shit, no, he's 450 pounds of muscle, and he literally just got up and then flipped that nigga over. And it was like, yep, he's manhandling him. He's twice his size. I guess this is what happened. This is why they have weight classes. That fight made no sense to me. Made no sense to me at all. But I definitely love Fedor versus Nogueira. I don't know, man. That shit makes me think of like UFC 1, where the fucking Gracies fucking rigged that shit. No wrestlers. No wrestlers allowed, and then this person has to fight that person because this is gonna be an unfavorable matchup for the fucking Gracies. And we gotta fucking boost the fucking membership of our jiu-jitsu schools. That was literally UFC 1, unfortunately. And that's what it looked like with this no Garrett Bob Sapp shit. But it looks like, if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. If you guys would like to email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com, go ahead. Do it. See if I care. If you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you listen to this podcast, I'd appreciate it so much. But go ahead to listen to it on YouTube. That's where you should go watch this video on YouTube. If you're listening to it right now and you're like, oh shit, I forgot he said that earlier. Maybe I just tuned in at a certain point. Just go to YouTube and rewatch the whole thing. Just go watch the whole thing. Go run them numbers. Go run them numbers up. Another one. Go watch it again. Where did I leave it? Go ahead to twitch.tv/Babylon5 to watch your boy game. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod. And I suddenly felt like, in all the Philly steaks you can eat, I could be the deep voice nigga in a boy band, in a black boy band. I don't think white boy bands had the deep voice nigga. You know what I'm saying? Boys to Men had the deep voice nigga. Girl, I know I was playing games, but you know what I'm saying? Like when it's the breakdown and it's just got the deep voice nigga that comes in and just talk shit. You know what I'm saying? And all the Philly steaks you can eat. Back in school, we used to dream about this every day. You niggas know I was a Boys to Men fanatic. Thank you guys. Thank you, Boys to Men, for, I don't even know, for having the deep voice nigga in the group to give me dreams of what I could be one day. I was trying to find the thank you music and I was searching Boys to Men. Damn, I can't even. Can I even find it? Thank you. Yeah. Here we go. Let's go back. Here we go. Thank you, Unified Rules of Podcasts, for giving me the fights to look at for pride and giving me the questions, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for being who you are. Let's do one more. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who's listening to this podcast. I appreciate it so much. I'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Down the ling chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Down the ling chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.